to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Why, hello again, Forgers, and welcome to episode 5 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm your host, Jeff Reynolds, and just like last week, I would like to introduce the co-host of the show, Kristen Ashton. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going today?
It's very well. How are you?
Oh, doing wonderfully as well. It's all smiles over here all the time.
All smiles. I love it. It's very, very good, positive energy. And there's a lot of things to be positive about in the Heroes of the Storm community. I don't know. Did you catch any of the North American spring qualifier today?
I haven't, but I've been seeing reports about it. Have you watched some today?
I did. I had the pleasure of watching some of it today, and let me tell you, there are some of the teams that we're used to, like Cloud9 and those Bob Ross fan club teams. I've been seeing a lot of the meta picks that we're really used to in the game, but some of those other teams, I saw a Cho'Gall pick today.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a Nazebo pick. I mean, there's been some really, really, really cool picks, and it makes the game so much more fun to watch.
Yeah, it sounds like it's revitalized a bit. No longer everyone's picking Sonya and Tyrael and Tyrande.
No, there were a lot of those too, but yes.
But it's changing up. We got a Cho'Gall. As long as there's
right.
Another Murky too, I think.
I think the Cho'Gall team might have lost. I didn't catch the end of that, but I hope they won, because then that would change the whole thought of Cho'Gall in the Nexus and everything like that.
It would, and I can vouch for the hatred Cho'Gall receives, because Kyle and I play Cho'Gall quite a bit. We're on a quest to get to level 10, and last night we played a game as Cho'Gall, and our gray main was on us the entire time, calling us out, being very, very rude. And we ended up beating them. He died 7 times. We only died 4 times, and we wiped the enemy team 3 times on our own.
Oh,
so
man.
I don't know what he was upset about, but he was probably upset we were stealing the glory from the gray main race.
Yeah, probably. I played with a lot of gray mains, and they feel that way. You know, they want to jump in and get that last killing blow and everything like that. So, yeah, I completely feel that. Do you play Cho or Gall?
I play Gall.
Gall, see, I've never played Gall well. I play Cho okay, probably because I play a lot of Leoric, or I did play a lot of Leoric, so
yeah.
That I actually learned from Kyle, took a couple lessons from him, and that was really, really great, because I got in there and learned how to position myself. So the Cho was a little bit better for me than the Gall.
Definitely.
So, but, oh yeah, I'd love to learn how to play Gall sometime. And then in other Heroes news, they're talking about Heroes of the Dorm, which I am totally stoked about.
Oh my goodness, I think we're all starting to build our little fan banners, getting those ready.
Fan banners and brackets, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and do you think they'll do a team bracket again like they did last year?
Gosh, I hope so. I really do. I went to ASU, so the fact that ASU was in the finals last year didn't quite seal the deal there at the end, but
nonetheless, they made it far enough for you to feel that school pride.
Yeah, and it has some serious backing at ASU. Some of my friends that, had never played or watched Heroes of the Storm before went in there because it was ASU, and they're gamers, so now they play Heroes of the Storm. I mean, it is such a great marketing tool for Blizzard. I think it's so brilliant.
Oh, definitely. And it's great to get them at such a young age, too. And then you get the young fan base. And, of course, the scholarship money. You can't say no to that. That in and of itself is amazing.
Yeah, and it's like a ridiculous amount of scholarship money, too. Mm-hmm. The first thing I thought, I was like, that's a lot of beer money.
Yeah, exactly. It's enough to cover rent. It's enough to cover classes. Probably only enough to cover maybe a quarter of what the textbooks cost, but that's a difference.
I know. Tell me about it. Now kids are lucky because they can do the digital textbooks, so they don't have to pay. Like, it's still expensive, don't get me wrong, but like some of those digital textbooks are half as much, which I didn't have the luxury of when I was in college, so I'm happy for them there. Did you play any other games this week, or just mostly Heroes with Kyle?
We did Heroes. I started up Alien Isolation, and there's a lot less alien than I thought there would be. Only toward the end of my 4-hour streak did I actually have to hide from an alien.
Oh, is it still scary though, or is it just kind of blah?
It hasn't been scary yet. There have been scares. There have been jump scares, but I haven't run for my life thinking something is behind me. The environments are beautiful. The story is great. The production value is definitely top notch. But so far with the scares, I haven't really felt anything yet.
Oh, that's a bummer, because I really want to play Soma. Have you heard of Soma?
Yes, I did. I played that one.
Oh, is that one good?
It's good. It's good. If you've read a lot of sci-fi before, the story it tells and the thoughts it tries to provoke aren't going to be new to you. You'll be able to predict it halfway through.
Oh, really?
But the scares are really, really solid.
Oh, I need to get on that, because I'm really into that kind of game. So Alien Isolation, not so much, but Soma, you give the thumbs up to?
I give a thumbs up to Soma.
Great. Well, I'll have to pick that up sometime. But back to Heroes. Like we were talking about before, so many new heroes are out there in the North American Spring Qualifier. Watch it on Twitch. I know it's finishing up now, and I'm sure we'll have some people join us in the show as soon as it's completed. And then when that's over, I know they start doing more rounds next weekend and the weekend after that. And then they're going to do the finals live on Twitch again at the end of the month. So that's going to be really cool, and I'm really, really stoked to see who comes out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and get into HeroesForge. So if this is your first time listening to the show or watching the show live on Twitch, the way this works is we're a podcast dedicated to the community of HeroesForge, and we're a little different than those other shows that you might be listening or watching out there. A lot of those other shows are great for news and things that are going on in the current game. But what we do is we kind of forge or think about characters that we would like to see from the Blizzard universe inside of HeroesForge. So inside of Heroes of the Storm. So every week what we do is we are going to pick a character from the Blizzard universe, and Kristen and I are going to chat through it, and sometimes we'll have some special guests on the show, and we're going to come up with some ideas of what might be cool to see that character do in the Nexus. So without further ado, let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, Kristen, why don't you tell everybody out there what hero we're forging today?
All right, today, Jeff, we are forging Imperius.
Ooh, from Diablo.
Diablo 3.
Oh, so cool. And I know we chatted a little bit offline about Imperius and our thoughts on him, but before we get into that, why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory of the actual character in the Diablo universe?
It was foretold that Valor would turn to wrath in the end of days, but for all this prophecy, Imperius still remains. Archangel of Valor, warrior of the Angiras Council, and commander of the heavenly host. Reveling in war and combat, it is said that Imperius is the greatest warrior in all creation. But great warrior does not mean great strategist. Though recognized for his resistance to fear and his love of war so strong, rivers of blood from his fallen foes now course their way through the 7 realms of the great evils. Imperius is not without his weaknesses. Though an angel, Imperius remains vocal in his hatred toward the Nephilim and all of humanity, blaming them for the ceaseless revivals of the Lords of Hell, loudly wishing the Angiras Council had voted to scour Sanctuary of their accursed blood long ago. Even now, during a period of peace blanketing the land following Malthael's defeat, Imperius seeks glory in triumphant battle. Whether this speaks to his strength or lust for power, only time will tell.
Wow. I got the chills. That's so cool.
Awesome.
So good. Oh, man. Another one of those characters that's totally and super well developed through the Blizzard universe. And, you know, we were talking a little offline, like I said before, about, you know, the difference between what we envision these characters of heaven and hell to be, and how Diablo turns that upside down. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you talk about, you know, it's pretty black and white to most people in the world. You know, heaven is the good side, hell is the bad side.
Yep.
But Imperius is a perfect example about a character that is different because he is flawed, like you said. It's a different different kind of angel that we would think of, especially one that leads the armies of heaven, right?
Mm-hmm. He hates humanity. I mean, how different can you be when it comes to the heaven and hell battle?
Right. Yeah, because that is so different, because the way that I think of it is that it wouldn't be like that.
No,
You
not
know,
at all.
they would be on our side, fighting against all of these other things, but it's pretty cool that they can change that. So I think that's really neat. So now that everybody has an idea of Imperius and what Imperius means in the Diablo universe, let's go ahead and talk through this hero's kit. And if you're not familiar with that term, the kit is all of the abilities and traits that this hero might have if it was in Heroes of the Storm. We're going to come up with some ideas here that might be a little out of bounds or something that's OP. This is all for just fun and brainstorming on what we would bring to the game, and we'll leave the rest to Blizzard because they're the professionals at this, and we're just coming up with some fun ideas. So we also want to hear your ideas. So if you have ideas about the episode that we're putting on now, you can visit us at our website. It's HeroesForge.club. You can check out all of the previous show postings. We've forged Elise Starseeker, we forged the Dark Wanderer, we forged the Overmind. Tons of really cool episodes over there to give your feedback on, and you can also shoot us an email at contactheroesforge@gmail.com. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just chat a little bit about this hero's kit. So the first thing we'll do is talk about their role classification in the game. And I had a pretty clear idea what I thought, but Kristen, what do you think?
All right, well, to kick it off, I was thinking assassin because I know he's called a warrior. But warriors generally don't get their butts kicked as many times as Imperius does. He loses to Diablo and he loses to Tyrael. So he's basically Mars. Everyone else is Athena.
That's
or I should
right.
say Ares. Everyone else is Athena.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't think of it like that, because assassins do get their butts kicked a lot, especially in Heroes of the Storm.
Oh man, especially if you're melee too.
Yeah, and in the league that I play Heroes of the Storm in, assassins are always in the wrong spot. So they're especially getting their butt kicked. So that's a cool thought. I went straight off into warrior, and I thought my challenge was, how do we make Imperius different than Tyrael? Because it would be so easy to get into the same sort of groove with Imperius and Tyrael. So I think here, and I think moving forward, we've learned on Heroes Forge that what we're going to do is we're going to hear all of Kristen's ideas to build the kit of the character, and we're going to hear all of mine, and then we're going to chat through all of them. We don't have to pick which one is cooler or better and choose that. We're going to post both of those ideas up on our website so you can check those out individually too and give your feedback on that. So I went warrior, you went assassin.
Yep.
So what would your trait be for Imperius the assassin?
Well, trait, I went with something called first to the fight because Imperius is known throughout the heavens to love a good fight. And whenever a fellow teammate is damaged by an enemy hero, Imperius has the choice to teleport to said location immediately.
Ooh, that would be really, really cool.
Hey, could you imagine the map control?
The map control and the trouble you could get into if he was an assassin.
Yeah.
Because you really, really, really have to be aware of where you're at on the map and where you're going and everyone that's around that area that you're going into. So that's a really cool idea, though. It would take some serious practice.
Oh, definitely. And I figure, too, it would be the hero that would teach people mini-map awareness and map awareness in general.
Yeah, because that was one of the things at the very beginning of me learning how to play Heroes that I was really, really challenged with running on the minimap. And when we had Abathur1613 on the show, he says that when he teaches Abathur players that they're actually just playing off of the minimap to start.
Nice.
Yeah, so then you move on to looking at the map rather than the minimap. So that's really cool. Cool. So my trait for the warrior version of Imperius was called Rivers of Blood.
Ooh.
And it's when Imperius lands a final blow on an enemy hero, they leave a pool of blood that burns an enemy hero that enters it. This damage is returned to Imperius as health.
Oh my goodness.
It's a little OP, maybe. But I was thinking of a way to create sustainability for the tank version. So some of my other traits as I go through are not as powerful because of that. because I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. So it would like lay on the battlefield like creep kinda, and if you were standing in it, it would, you know, slowly and very slowly eat away at your health, and then it would feed that health back to Imperius.
I like it. And I mean, your tanks do need some sort of sustainability. And if that's a trait, that's amazing. Because usually a lot of tanks have some sort of heal, but the cooldown is very, very
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, very long, and if you don't land it, then that's why I think if it was in the game, it would have to be something that is, you know, dumbed down from any other sort of AoE effect. So
Yeah.
cool. That was my idea for the trait. And what were you thinking for Imperius's mount?
And then the mount, for his regular mount, I was thinking he transforms into that white vapor we see him flying around as in the
Yeah.
vids. And then then he gets the teleport, but that's only activated when the trait is triggered. Upon teleport, he slams to the ground at the target location, revealing all in the area.
Ooh, so even the stealthies.
Yes, especially the stealthies. Oh, I like to imagine he spreads fear through the ranks.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I had the same idea for his mounting ability. Was his basic ability would be to turn into that white smoke form that we see. And if you don't know what we're talking about and you're listening to the show, play Diablo 3. Or if you've played it a while ago and you want to go back and watch some of the cutscenes like we both did before we did this show, there are some really cool moments where he turns into this like almost vapor looking being and can just fly through the air as this vapor looking being straight through, almost like a teleport or a blink kind of.
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of
And if
goes
you
straight
ever
through.
watched Lost, the smoke monster,
Yes.
except not black, white. It's a
Right,
very
white.
an angelic.
Yeah. So it has this definite like, and it's just like as if you had put dry ice in
Yeah.
water. Like it has that kind of, you know, cauldron look to it. It's the best way I think I can describe it. But check it out because those cutscenes are gorgeous. The animation is gorgeous. So it's something to definitely take a look at if you're interested in looking at videos of Imperius. Cool. So great minds think alike on the mounting ability.
Yeah.
I love that. For my cue, I thought we would use his Spear of Valor. Again, going through all of the trait that I had picked, going through all of these abilities, they're a little weaker in order to play off of that trait. So Imperius wields a spear that he uses for his basic attacks. When Q is activated, he's able to flip toss the spear at an enemy. By pressing Q again, he can call it back to him.
Oh.
Both of these actions have line effects that do damage to the enemy.
Oh, nice. So that definitely changes what Tyrael is able to do, which is transport directly to the sword.
Yeah, to Eldruin. Yeah, right. Because that's his sword name. Yeah. See, like I said at the beginning, this was really hard for me because I thought, I don't want him to be a whole lot like Tyrael, but that idea is a lot like it. But if you look at the game, he can call that spear down and he like grabs it, and it's a badass moment, you know, when he calls that down and just grabs it and points it straight at Diablo in one of those cutscenes.
Oh, and you know the fight's about to go.
Yeah, it is so cool. So what was your idea for Q?
Q I called backstab. Imperius ghosts to the backside of target enemy hero, dealing extra damage if enemy hero does not turn to face him.
Oh, that's a mechanic that we haven't seen in the game.
No, not at all. And I got that one from his fight with Diablo when he tries basically to come up behind Diablo, but Diablo turns in time, gets a little scratch on the cheek, but is able to deflect the blow.
Right. Oh, that is really another really key positioning move there.
Yeah.
So your assassin version of Imperius is just jumping all over the
Oh,
battlefield.
all over the place. But
Oh,
his
I love that.
attacks mainly focus on heroes, not so much minions or mercenaries, to kind of
Right.
balance out what he can do on a map.
Right, I love that because I love to hate that. You know what I mean? Like in the game, and Illidan comes in the game.
Oh.
My gosh, I hate that. And it just
Oh.
wrecks me usually, you know, if it's a good comp and everything like that, it just wrecks me
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So I feel like Imperius would have the same sort of feel to it. Is that what you're trying to go with this Q idea?
Yeah, definitely the mobility.
Yeah, the mobility. I love that. Cool. That is a couple good, really good Q abilities there for Imperius. And then what about your W? What were you thinking for that?
All right, W, I did steal this from Dota 2. Dota 2's hero, Legion Commander. And I played Legion Commander for a little bit, and she was so much fun.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. And this one, it's a duel, and the idea is Imperius challenges target enemy hero to one-on-one combat. If Imperius manages to kill the enemy hero, he receives bonus attack damage, and that would stack, but it would be lost upon death. If enemy wins, the enemy receives that bonus damage, again lost upon death. If both live, there aren't any bonuses. And then the only difference from Dota 2 is that in Dota 2, if you win or the enemy wins, the bonus attack damage is permanent.
Ooh. Okay, you're going to have to explain this to me. How does it work? How do you challenge someone? Does it like pull away from the battlefield, or are you still just on the battlefield, or how does it all work?
That it would be interesting to see it done in a Blizzard game because I believe they would do a great job making it their own. In Dota 2 currently, a little arena ring basically forms around you two and you have to fight. No one can run away. You have to fight each other. Now, this may have changed since my time in
Right.
Dota, but that's how it was. And of course, you get the background noises of an audience cheering for you. And when someone wins, there's a ding, 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 victory.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. Okay, I'm picturing something here like Imperius kind of, flies up to the character that you're challenging, grabs them, and shoots straight up into the heavens,
Yes.
right? So he grabs you. Instead of a dome, you fly up and you're fighting in a different like little mini Diablo 3 heavens area.
Oh.
And you're fighting there, and then whoever loses flies down as a comet or something from the battlefield, like when Tyrael flies down through the cathedral in Tristram.
Yes.
Like, how cool would that be to do something with that?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Oh, that is such a cool idea. Oh, I'd love to see that implemented. I've never played any of those other MOBAs, so that is such a cool idea to me. And I know there's a lot of people that haven't played MOBAs that play Heroes, and for them to bring that over, I think it would be okay. I think it'd be cool. And they do it differently.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And I think that in the sky thing that you suggested would be great. It would be perfect, really, because where else would Imperius want to fight but on his own battlefield?
Oh, that is such a cool idea. And that was W, right?
Yes.
Cool. So my W, again, going with the tank feel of this, it was called Heaven's Grace, and it's what I'm labeling as a blessing or like a buff for a character. I'm getting this from, I recently picked up a Magic the Gathering card game again, and I'm playing that with my friends, and there's these enchantments that you can lay down on the field, and I'm not very good at the game, but I like to play it because it draws from these other games that I love, like D&D and Heroes and stuff. So I was thinking, what if Imperius had a blessing where he could choose an ally hero to bless with this enchantment, and it causes all of the damage that is done to them to be done to Imperius instead.
Oh.
So they have to be in the area of Heaven's Grace is what I'm calling it. And they have to be in this area to stay connected to Imperius.
Okay.
But it puts like that, just this spotlight on them, or like the heaven's spotlight on them. And any damage that's done to them automatically draws from Imperius's health pool.
That's wonderful. And then visually, that would be incredible too, because of course, on an enemy team, if you see something glowing, your animal brain automatically is going to go, oh man, we got to hit it. We got to beat it up. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and then if you comboed that with the trait that I was talking about how they could be standing in the pools of blood and they're taking damage from the blood.
Yeah.
And then Imperius is gaining health from that, but then they're attacking Jaina, who's got Heaven's Grace on her. So every time they're throwing, bolts or something at Jaina, it's taking it from Imperius's health. And because that's another thing. How do you feel they would, because it's tough to implement taunt in this game.
Yes.
You know, like we think of it in Warcraft.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of ways to kind of redirect damage like that for tanks, because that's one of the biggest parts of playing a tank in Warcraft is being able to taunt things and pull them in when you want to.
Yeah.
And that was the closest I could get.
No, I think that's perfect. And like, again, I said visually that would be great because enemy teammates are automatically going to go after the shiny sparkly thing on the field. It looks fun to hit, especially if it's squishy. But so how big would the radius be, assuming you put it on a melee assassin who has to get a bit deeper into the field than a Jaina?
Yeah, I don't think it would be too big of a radius, only because I'm picturing him as a tank. So
Yeah.
he's in the fight.
Oh, fair
So-
enough.
Yeah, so maybe the bigger Jaina AoE ability, the what's it called? The
Blizzard?
Blizzard. Yeah, you know how she can talent into Blizzard
Yes.
and make it bigger? I think it would be about that big. And you'd have to stay in that area, and if you left, you'd lose it. So,
Yeah, it would automatically sever the connection.
yeah, and you better hope that your healer is healing you through that, because you're going to be taking a lot of
Oh my
damage.
goodness, talk about a team-oriented
I know.
W. All right, team.
Yeah,
We're doing
Cloud9, get on that. Love it. Cool. So let's move on to E. What was your idea for E?
All right, E I called Dash It All. And Imperius launches himself in a straight line, dealing damage to all enemies in his way. The ground below his path is now sanctified, slowing all enemies that walk through it. Kind of like Tyrael's Smite.
Right. And I love that. And when I was watching the cutscenes again, that looks just like Smite when he flies through the air and, you know, kind of...
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's an angel ability in my mind. You know, that's a thing that they are able to do that, you know, the demons of hell are not able to do that.
Exactly.
So being similar is not so bad. I think that you could draw from that. So that's really cool. So in the pathway, like, are you thinking this is the length of a Vala vault?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, I instinctually a vault would be the perfect length.
Right. So shorter, but you can use it on a basic ability.
Yes.
Shorter than Tyrael's ability.
Yes, and it would
yeah.
be a way he could help clean up lanes without giving him too much power against minions.
Right, because he would need that for an assassin. That's a great idea. Cool. My E is called Behind Heaven's Gates.
Ooh.
And in the lore, you know, when I was reading through all this, it talks a little bit about how Imperius kind of just sat on his high throne when it came to a lot of it, because he wanted to command the armies, and he was just up there at Heaven's Gate until Diablo kind of shows his face there.
Yes.
And so I thought, when Imperius is fighting near a friendly structure, he receives a health and damage buff.
Oh, nice.
Also, hero pools of blood are increased in the area of the structure while the structure is still standing. If the structure falls, the pools of blood return to a normal size for his trait. So basically, fighting around being a defensive player with Imperius is gonna, in my build, kind of be advantageous, because you're gonna get a buff if you're fighting around your structures.
Yes, and I don't think we've really seen too much in the way of defensive tanks.
Right.
I mean, especially when it comes to enemies pushing into your own territory.
Yeah, you'd have to look at the team comp that's coming up, you know, against you, and decide if you were going to play something that was a little bit more defensive, because I can imagine some core battles, you know, going in there, and if you had Imperius, you just have that tiny little hand up on them.
Yeah, and imagine how strong that would be against a team with a Sylvanas on it.
Right, because it's kind of the counter to that.
Exactly. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
really nothing to counter Sylvanas directly, as far as I can think of.
Right.
Just her ability to silence those towers is so strong.
Oh, yeah. And especially if they end up someday making the tower blasts, the tower rounds even more damage or more grueling, you know, then she's going to be an auto pick for some teams, just to be able to silence them from firing at all.
Yeah. So we have a team battle. It's on our turf, and Imperius is gaining power from the towers. Do we see a crystal arch appear over the structure?
Yes.
Okay.
That took no time for me to answer that question. Yes.
That would be amazing to denote. Oh, and there's more than one tower in the range that could give him power, does he get stacks?
No stacks, because I'm thinking this is kind of like, a giveaway E. There's no ability on it. It's just, kind of just this passive that follows him around.
Oh, gotcha. So it's not even activated.
No, it's not active. It's just there. You don't need to activate it. If you're fighting in your area, you're getting this buff and you're feeling it. And obviously there's, all the blood around everywhere like that. So that was no time to answer your question. I think that would be the coolest thing ever.
That's amazing. Yes, and think too about how it would affect the meta, because how many teams would start playing defensively if they were given a hero that really, really shines on the defense?
Yeah, and that's something, that you see in Heroes where you're like, we have got to defend now.
Oh, yes.
But they don't want to. Like, the other team doesn't want to, and, you've got to go along or they're just going to get wiped anyway, and then you get wiped no matter what.
Exactly,
so,
and then you get yelled at if you're not there, and you were type of guys, I told you, bad idea.
Getting yelled at is never fun. Yeah, never, ever fun. So that's a cool way to throw in a little bit of an idea for a defensive hero. So cool. Again, this is the coolest part of the show. Now we get to talk about what our ideas are for Imperius's heroics.
Heroic.
All right. I'll go first this time.
All
so
right.
I'm thinking my first heroic ability is something called Exile.
Ooh.
So I'm picturing that Imperius is able to choose a hero to exile, causing them to be morphed into a slow-moving comet that pushes them back and deals damage.
Oh my goodness.
So you're silencing them, and it's also moving them a distance backwards. And I'm thinking you could talent into it. I'm looking at your face now, and I'm like, oh no, maybe this is way too OP.
No, this is amazing. Keep going. Just keep adding to it. And it's got fire and shoots
It's
the
got
lasers.
fire, it destroys the map, the whole thing goes down, you win the game.
It's
All you gotta do is press
auto-win.
R. And it's a game-winning ability. No, so it pushes them back, and it just keeps pushing them back, and you can talent into it to where it does damage to the surrounding area. So it's a removal of the hero from battle, kind of like a gust from Falstad.
Yeah.
It pushes but just one hero back and does damage around them.
Oh, could you imagine level 20 if another hero is hit by this comet, they get sucked in and the duration is extended?
That would be really cool. Or if, like, at level 20, you could do it to structures, not move them, but just do damage to them. Yeah, because, again, one of the coolest cutscenes from Diablo 3 is when that comet rips through the cathedral and just the debris is just falling down off of the, and Deckard Cain looks straight at the camera and is like, it has begun. I'm just like, that is so awesome.
Beautiful. Now, and then, let me see. Would it continue going until the player inside manages to do enough damage to break free? Or would it just keep moving back until it hits a certain length?
Yeah, I think if it hits a certain length, that's what I'm looking at. So maybe not a super long distance, probably the same distance as the gust to just kind of push them back out of the fight. And, it's just like those void prisms or the maws and everything in the game where just that tiny little bit of removal from a team fight, you throw that on a KT, he flies back.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And it can just change the tide of battle.
Yeah.
So, which is really what heroics are meant to do, I think, and that you're supposed to plan ahead for that. So, what's your idea for his first heroic?
Well, the first one, Solarian. Forged in the heart of a dying star, the famed weapon appears at Imperius' side, giving the hero an entirely new skill set, including a beam of plasma and slash attack. Teleport now deals area damage upon landing.
So awesome. So it transforms him into a, even stronger version.
Basically, because in those videos, whenever he summons Solarian, it seems like he gets this glow of power.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. I don't know about you. I love when weapons have names. And that's like a super nerdy thing, but I absolutely love that.
No, man, historical weapons have names because of the history they have hewn into them. I mean, the people they took down, the cities they conquered. Oh, yeah.
I know. So cool. So Solarian is Imperius's spear's name. It's a spear, right?
Yes.
Is that what? Yeah. So Oh, that's so cool. And we don't have any heroes, really, correct me if I'm wrong, in the game that the heroic changes them completely.
We don't.
No, because I thought that's how they were going to do Greymane when I first saw that. And I know they've talked about this on some other podcasts about Heroes of the Storm, where they could have done it the easy way, where they could have just been like, okay, when you turn to level 10, he turns into the Worgen, and then you just kind of fight through it.
Yeah.
And but they didn't do that, so it's time that they do that, because I think that's such a good idea.
Yeah, and could you imagine having to balance those double skills too? Because as soon as you get your weapon, your official weapon, it's just an entirely different playing field.
Oh, yeah. So cool. So did you say that his basic abilities do more damage then, or?
I would, if it's timed, I would say they do more damage.
But if it's like a consistent thing where he's always carrying Solarian through the rest of the battle.
Exactly, because Illidan has that one he can spec into where he remains in his demon form until he dies.
Right.
And then
Ooh,
he
that's
has
cool.
to hit R again to pop back in. So it could work like that as well.
Love it. I love that idea. Great one. I'm tip my cap to that one because that's a really, really cool idea. It makes my second heroic sound kind of lame compared to that, but it's called My Old Friend.
Oh.
And it's a fire blast from the heavens fire that causes heroes to burn.
Ooh.
So it puts an AoE, and I think it'd be like a line attack. And it also, when they're burning, every step that they take puts another pool of the blood for his trait.
Oh my
So, like,
goodness.
as they're walking, it would just be like more pools of blood, which would then in turn hurt other heroes around them and then buff Imperius in the end.
You know how angry lower leagues would be with this being instigated? Because 4 of the 5 people would start running around like crazy. And that
Yes.
one person would go, guys, just stop moving. Just
Don't
stop.
move. Don't step into Sonya's whirling swords of death. Just stay still. Don't
spread
move
the
so
blood, guys.
Yeah, so the blood doesn't go everywhere. Just stop. Yeah, and then because that adds a whole nother level to strategy where you're thinking, if I don't move, I'm probably gonna die. If I do move, I'm gonna kill more people. So maybe I should just stand here and kind of unload all of my abilities on the other team.
Yeah.
And all that. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
and then positioning too would be affected because you'd have to think a pro team would probably then fan out so they could get off of the ground that's causing damage. They'd
Yeah.
still take their damage, but they wouldn't hurt anybody else. Kind of like when a pro team sees a Sonya start to whirlwind, they
Right.
immediately just widen the circle.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I see that a lot. I wish that when I played the game, everybody did that.
I wish I did that. I usually just stand there and take it.
Oh, man, she's just got 10 health left. Just let me get in there.
I know. Healer, I'm going in, whether you like it or not. No, Kristen, no.
That's totally a Leroy moment, a Leroy Jenkins, just going in, and then it doesn't turn out so well. So
Nope, and then GG team, thanks for having my back.
yeah. Oh, very true, and very sad sometimes, but very true. What's your idea for the second heroic?
Second heroic, Angiris Council.
Ooh.
The target enemy hero is locked in place as the Angiris Council decides their fate. They cannot, now the enemy hero that's trapped cannot be harmed by enemy attacks during this hearing.
Okay.
If found innocent, the enemy hero is set free. If found guilty, Imperius deals a deadly blow.
Oh, so there's a little bit of RNG in there. Is the game deciding if they're innocent or guilty?
The game decides.
Oh my gosh, I am so on board with this, it's not even funny. I think that is the most amazing thing, and it would create so much salt.
Oh my goodness, it would be palpable. And I think my favorite part would probably be the voice acting that Blizzard gets on par, because you could imagine how angry Imperius would be if his enemy gets away, all because
Right.
the council decided not to get rid of them.
Oh my gosh, I'm envisioning like the spirits of, like, when you're in the depths of the cathedral and the spirits are talking to each other.
Yes.
What if the council kind of appeared around this character, showing that they were being on trial, and they were just like around them, and they had to like take a knee or something while they were getting judged? Oh man, that'd be so cool. Bravo. That is such a great idea. I love that. And like we talked about in the Elise Starseeker episode last week, one of my favorite parts about Hearthstone is the RNG factor, the random game elements that, change and you have no control over them. And there isn't much of that in Heroes of the Storm. And I think on the competitive scene of that, it would be a risk to take that, because you'd have to think, well, would it be a 50-50 chance, Kristen, do you think?
I'm thinking a 50-50 chance, to be fair, but they could always do it where if it's an assassin, they take into account how much damage you've done overall in comparison to everybody else, hero and enemy alike. If you're a healer, how much healing you've done, tank, how much tanking you've done.
Oh, so there's some sort of algorithm possibility that could draw in your game stats and see if you're worthy of being judged or not.
I like that wording, worthy, if you're worthy.
Worthy.
And if
That's
you
right.
voted to die, then clearly Blizzard doesn't think your MMR is up to snuff. It's solely based on MMR. Which is
Right. They won't show you your MMR, but you will be judged by the high heavens.
And it literally becomes MMR hell.
Wow, after that, I think we can definitely say this hero is forged.
Hero Forged.
That was probably one of the most fun I've had on this show so far. That Imperius is such a cool idea, and like we talked about before, it can go a ton of different ways. I mean, Kristen, your idea was to make him an assassin. My idea, first off the bat, was a warrior. And we took this character and went two completely different directions. And I just think that is so cool that these characters are so in depth, so loved by the community that they can just take it anywhere they want to.
We could probably even argue him to be a healer if we wanted. He would probably be the worst healer in the meta because he would grump about it the whole time. But
Right.
it's possible.
Right. And I'm just picturing, because we always talk about the hero silhouette, and because at BlizzCon, they talked about how they choose heroes based on their silhouette, which we've talked about on HeroesForge before. But I just picture that giant, Tron disc floating, his halo above him and his giant wings. I think he'd have to be a larger model than Tyrael, like the actual
no question.
Yeah, would have to be bigger. And then just the interactions in the game of Imperius talking to Tyrael. That would just be so cool.
Oh man,
to
they
hear.
follow each other, taunting one another. Oh,
Right.
and would he walk or would he float? I personally think he would walk.
I think he would walk. I think that's a really, really good point, because doesn't Tyrael floats?
He
kinda
does. Tyrael floats.
Yeah, so I think Imperius would walk, and I think he'd have like a pretty intense walk too. Like his armor kind of like ching, ching, kind of like the Lich King.
Ooh,
The same kind of feel. Yeah, so cool. On the warrior side, I talked a little bit about rivers of blood and teleporting, and we were both on the same page with the way that he moves through the battlefield. We're both on the same page talking about his spear, Solorian, the spear of Valor, talking about how he would tank and gain health. And on your side, we're talking about all these really cool assassin moves, a backstab move that's never been done in this game before, where that is pure positioning, the definition of positioning. And if you're fighting him, you got to turn around.
You better
or you're going to be
face
in trouble.
him.
That's right. You got to face Imperius. I think the heroic abilities take the cake, though. I think we talked about some really cool heroic abilities, with the definite, cherry on top being that last one where you're judged by the council to see if you're guilty or not. I think that's so cool, and they could do some really cool things with that. Yeah, very, very cool. So that is our hero forging for Imperius. All of the notes that we talked about are going to be posted on our website under episode 5. It'll be right at the top at the podcast tab of the website. We really, really, really appreciate everyone listening and supporting the show. Again, our website is HeroesForge.club. There you can see our all of the heroes we've forged in the past, and look forward to all the heroes that we're going to be forging in the future. We stream the show live on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/HeroesForge. We want all of our audio listeners to join us on that live stream. We want to get a chat room full of people that are helping us make decisions on ability names, ability, if we're talking about the council, what would the council do? We want to be able to reach out to chat. So if you're our audio listener on iTunes, go ahead and shoot us some really, really cool ideas during the live show at twitch.tv/HeroesForge. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Forge Heroes. That's ForgeHeroes. It's all one word. On Twitter is where you're going to get all of our updates for when the show goes live. Also, in the middle of the week, we usually post what hero we'll be forging the next week, which is kind of a cool little pre-show element that you can be a little bit in on what we're going to be forging on Sunday nights. You can find us on YouTube, and all of our videos are over on youtube.com/HeroesForge, and definitely download the show on iTunes, and you can find the links for both YouTube and iTunes on our website. And if you like the show and you're over on iTunes, drop us a 5-star review, because that really helps get the word out about the show over there, so that other fans of Blizzard games, and most especially Heroes of the Storm, can jump on the Heroes Forge train and get a little listen of the show. And that brings us to, if you'd like to support the show, we started our Patreon website over there. Kristen and I are still in the chats about what we're gonna be able to do for all of the people that support us over at patreon.com/HeroesForge. Over there you can see some of the ideas that we've had, and if you have ideas for what you'd like to see on the Patreon site for Heroes Forge, please shoot us an email. You can send us an email at contactheroesforge@gmail.com. That's the same email you can use to send us ideas of heroes you want to see forged. If you have an idea for a specific hero that we already forged and you want us to talk about it on the show, shoot it over to us in an email, and we'll be able to review all of those emails and move forward with making this a community-driven podcast like we both want it to be. Right, Kristen?
Oh, yes, definitely. We need you guys.
Yeah, we do, and it's a great community that is supporting Heroes of the Storm already. So we want to kind of tap into that and be part of it. So that's really cool. I am also really excited to announce that next week we're going to have a special guest. Kristen and I are both going to interview a Cavalier Guest, one of our Twitch streamers of Heroes of the Storm, and we will, a little spoiler alert here, we will be forging our first World of Warcraft hero on our show.
An exclusive, so you guys better show up.
An exclusive. This is the first. You can look back 10 years from now and you can say, I was there when they forged the first Warcraft character, which is pretty cool. So that, again, is going to record next week, Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be over there. And Kristen, where can people find you on the web?
Well, people can find me over at Twitter at Dream Destroyer, DRMDESTRYR. I am also over at Twitch at the same extension, YouTube as well, and my fitness blog, rippedforblizzcon.weebly.com.
Wow, very cool, very cool. How is your fitness blog going?
Going well. Today I just posted about the difference between starvation and hunger, because I feel a lot of people confuse the two when they start to cut calories.
Oh, very cool. So that definitely sounds interesting to me. So I'll be checking that out, and we want everyone to check it out as well. So very cool. And I think that's all for this episode. Tune in next week, first World of Warcraft character. Thanks so much, everybody, and we will see you in the real world.